Hello everyone, and thank you very much for attending today's Aquirian Limited webinar. My name is Nicola Gazzatti of Investor Relations Consultancy Corporate Storytime. Aquirian is a specialist mining services company focused on providing innovative products and services that provide their customers with improved outcomes, efficiencies and safety in drill and blast operations. I'm delighted to be joined by Aquirian's Managing Director, David Kelly, who will run through an investor presentation focusing on the company's recent acquisition of an ammonium nitrate emulsion plant located in Woburn, Western Australia. The presentation will then be followed by a Q&A session. If you do wish to submit a question during the webinar, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So without any further ado, I'm pleased to hand over to David to deliver an update on the Aquirian story.
Yes, this is a really exciting time for us with the Woburn acquisition. It's an acquisition we've been working on now for over 14 months to get to this point. And since announcement, we've been thrilled by the response from both end user customers across the market, but also industry participants who are looking for supply chain options for them. So really exciting time, and I'm really happy to take everyone through the presentation. So what is the transaction, and what does it entail? The key points. So we've acquired a 110 kiloton emulsion plant, which is located at Woburn. The plant's been purchased from Hanwha for $9.6 million. It's a turnkey asset on 151 hectares of freehold land, which gives us capacity to expand storage and other manufacturing options into the future. We're expecting the completion of the acquisition to take somewhere between 3 and 6 months, and that's subject to the transfer of the manufacturing and storage licenses across the facility. And these facilities are typically a very high barrier to entry. The independent replacement cost of the facility we've received is close to twice what we're paying for it. Why are we interested in getting into this area? Well, I guess myself and Greg Patching, one of our other directors, we've spent 25 plus years in this field prior to commencing Aquirian. We know that there's growing demand for emulsions across the region as mines get wetter and deeper. The location is already an established storage and logistics hubs. It's located right next to the road train assembly area in Woburn, which is on Great Northern Highway, the gateway to the Pilbara in the Midwest. We have product expertise in this area, but it gives us an increased service offering and is complementary to our existing business units. The majority of our existing business are focused on the drill and blast space. So this is a tie-in to that and really supports the growth in those businesses. And I guess importantly, with this asset, in previous lives, our management team, when working for Hanwha, or a large portion of the management team previously worked for the vendor, and were involved in the acquisition of the land, oversaw compliance, rezoning, community engagement and design of the facility. The acquisition is fully debt funded, subject to your standard conditions precedent and bank documentation. We've got a 7-year funding arrangement with a commercial rate currently less than 7.5%. Over the life of the project, we expect an NPV to be well north of $40 million. And assuming we get the plant to a 30 to 40% loading, which we expect to take 3 to 4 years, and with associated downstream services, we've seen a revenue contribution somewhere in that $40 to $60 million per annum range, with an EBITDA range, 12 to 16%. So with the acquisition, we also get a license to exclusively distribute X-Load. X-Load's a patented product of Hanwha's, which is a low-density product which is perfect in its energy partitioning to suit the Pilbara mining conditions in particular. As mentioned, we see strong emulsion growth across the region. It is a storage hub for ammonium nitrate at the moment, with 1,500 tonne of storage on site, and we expect to see that grow to about 10,000 tonne over the coming years. The acquisition will allow us to bring online downstream client offerings, including sales of initiating products and full loading services. And I guess importantly, the facility has strong community support within the region. The Dalwell Council has been very supportive of the acquisition and getting it back up and running. And its rural isolation supports the expansion plans, but it also removes some of these dangerous goods from storage locations and production facilities that are more commonly associated with major regional centres and even the metropolitan area. So the asset will be run under the name Western Energetics. Key sort of points, Hanwha is exiting the Australian bulk explosives market. So as part of that, they've sold the sister assets to this, which were one in Blackwater in Queensland and one in Blue Vale in New South Wales to Orica. They sold to them in late June. We've applied the plant and the licence from Hanwha. The facility was built and commissioned in 2020. It's on freehold land and it's production ready. And as mentioned, importantly, emulsion supply in WA is tightening as mines get wetter and deeper. Who do we have leading the team? We've got a very experienced board with deep domain experience in both mining, drill and blast, and services. And importantly, a really strong management team. Myself, Greg and Andrew have all spent time in the explosives industry with Orica and others. And our CFO, Mark, from his 30-year career with Orica, with Alcoa, my apologies, brings a strong manufacturing and process background to the table, and obviously ably supported by our recently appointed General Counsel and COSEC, Jesse Clarick. Who do we want to be? We want to be an innovative and sustainable Australian company, providing future-focused solutions and services to mining customers globally. Our values are driven by our team. They've been built from the ground up, and we believe in these every day. And I guess with our vision, we're investing in our technology, our drill and blast technology, which is focused on optimising blast holes and blast hole outcomes. And with the acquisition of Woburn, we get to participate in that to a greater degree now by being able to offer an energetic solution into those blast holes to maximise the outcome for our customers. What's the strategic rationale and where's Woburn located? So Woburn's located 270 kilometres, my apologies, northeast of Perth. As I mentioned previously, it's on Great Northern Highway. And that highway passes through the Midwest on the way to the Pilbara, which makes up 75% of the explosives demand within Western Australia. The location is perfectly located to meet all regions across the state. It enables, as mentioned, full downstream product and supply offering. It's on the Northern Freight corridor, and importantly, it's outside of major regional and metropolitan centres, removing exposure to them from the transport of dangerous goods. We're seeing strong regional product demand within the Midwest, and that's a growing region. And obviously the Pilbara along Great Northern Highway is the largest market in the region. And we're also seeing demand, and we've had customers reach out to us already for increased storage options of ammonium nitrate. Again, that's storage located outside of major regional and metropolitan centres. Our existing business model is broken into two divisions, our People Services division and our Mining Services division. And outside of our heavy equipment and underground rental fleet, the rest of our businesses are 100% focused on the drill and blast industry. TBS Mining with our drill and blast technology development and sales, the Collar Keeper and the Collar Keeper system and its ongoing development. We've got Maglock being the largest energetic storage supplier in Australia. And then on the people services side, we have a specialist drill and blast workforce resourcing solution, as well as being the largest training provider of shot fire and explosives training in Western Australia. So as we move forward, we see those businesses obviously supporting Western Energetics and its growth. And we see Western Energetics will become the key driver of our revenue into the future. And as I mentioned, ably supported by our people service division and dovetailing with our technology to optimise our share and how we support the value chain around drill and blast. As we look forward, we see the energy transition continuing to drive mineral demand. As I mentioned earlier, mines are getting wetter and deeper. As they get wetter, they need more and more emulsion, and our customers are looking for innovative explosives and energetic solutions to meet their needs. And we're a strong believer in the X-Load product and what that brings to the market. In terms of our business, I've mentioned where we see the revenue contribution and the EBITDA range heading. But this really allows us as a group to diversify our service offerings and revenue lines, strengthen our cash flow, improve our margin, and strengthen our balance sheet. And our current business, we tend to work on 6, 12, 18-month engagements with clients. What we see Western Energetics bringing us is the ability to enter into 3- and 5-year contracts with clients, so giving us certainty and sustainability across our revenue line. And this is an area that's not new to the management team. As I mentioned, myself and Greg in particular have spent over 25 years in this industry. And this is an asset that's not new to us either. We were heavily involved in the development of the asset. I guess looking at our performance over the last 3 years up to FY23, a consistent track record of growth across the board. We're currently, share price today is 23 cents with a market capitalisation of around $18.6 million for our existing business. What does the asset do for us looking forward? So, as I said, demand for energetics growing, mines are getting wetter and deeper. We see a lot of the supply in Western Australia is close to capacity or sold out. A number of facilities are sold out. So we see bringing this one back online, there is very strong demand for that. We have the ability to expand and ramp up emulsion, the facility to 160,000 tonne per annum. The nameplate capacity is 160,000 tonne per annum. It's currently licensed at 110,000 tonne per annum. X-Load, it's a very unique low-density product, perfectly suited to Pilbara conditions. The site's strategically located on the freight corridor for 75% of WA's energetic consumption. And it's a low-risk supply chain option, as I said, located outside of major regional and metropolitan centres. And just closing out, who are we as Aquirian as a group? We're customer focused, we're vertically integrated, we've got a clear strategic focus on delivering value for our customers, and we've got an industry experienced board and management. And I guess importantly, we're a profitable, innovative growth company with a clear focus on the future.
Thank you so much for the update, David. We'll now move on to our Q&A section. The first question is, you are funding the acquisition with debt. Who is providing the funding and what is the commercial rate?
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for that. So we do all of our banking with National Australia Bank, and National Australia Bank is supporting the acquisition. It's 100% debt funded. And it is a floating rate, which is currently at around sub 7.5%, 7.1, 7.2% today.
Thanks, David. Our second question, what does the facility produce and how will you distribute the product?
Yeah, so the facility can produce a number of products, but the simplest product to describe is it's an ammonium nitrate emulsion. An emulsion is a precursor dangerous good to be used in explosives. And the easiest way to describe it is we take a liquid salt and a fuel, and we blend them together, and it produces a product that looks like mayonnaise. It's a blending process. There's no chemical reactions. It's quite a simple production process. And as I said, the end product is a material that looks like mayonnaise. It's the easiest thing for people to visualise.
Thank you, David. What is different with the Woburn asset to those of your competitors?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the major difference, obviously, location. It's a very unique location. The other facilities around the state tend to be grouped together in Kalgoorlie or up in the north. It's one of the only, and I believe the only facility on freehold land in Western Australia with a large footprint. And I guess importantly from a competitive perspective, it's located on Great Northern Highway. So it's close to Perth, it's close to the major supply chain, and it's on the highway to 75% of the potential market in Western Australia.
Thank you. Our next question, you develop and provide innovative products that improve efficiencies and safety outcomes for your mining clients. How does this acquisition fit into your strategy?
Yeah, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, our drill and blast technology is all around producing a quality blast hole. So it's about optimising the blast hole condition to ensure that our customers get the best result once they put their explosives in. To optimise their fragmentation. With this acquisition, we now get to optimise the blast hole, ready for explosives, and we get to load the hole with explosives and play a greater part in that blast outcome. And it gives us a greater share of the value that's available to the contractor market across that blast hole.
Thank you, David. Our next question, why is the storage at the Woburn plant strategic for Aquirian?
Yeah, so demand for storage is, again, growing across the region. The major stores at the moment are in major regional and metropolitan areas. And it's getting harder and harder to develop those in those locations and even outside those locations. So the location of Woburn, the amount of land holding, which allows for separation distance, means that we can expand that to a significant quantity. And there's strong demand for storage options from both end user customers and industry participants across the region.
Thank you. Our next question, what are the benefits of the land purchase to the north of the property? Does this assist with the storage?
It does. So we acquired a 9-hectare property in September, which is directly adjacent to the Woburn facility. As I mentioned before, separation distance is really important with the storage in these facilities. And that facility was limiting the ability for the Woburn site to expand to the north and utilise the majority of the land. So by acquiring that facility and taking control, it gives us the ability to expand our storage footprint and other manufacturing options. to the north of our land.
Thank you. Our next question, are there options available for toll treating and does it present a lower working capital ramp-up optionality?
Yes, absolutely. We see this facility in time becoming a common user facility where we're working with industry participants and end customers alike. Tolling options obviously provide us with a quick way to ramp up the production without taking on the working capital and downstream capital needs immediately. So certainly something we're looking at, and we've been really encouraged by the number of industry participants that have reached out to us to have discussions around that.
The full capacity of the plant is 160,000 tonnes. Do you expect to operate at this level in the future?
Potentially. It's as emulsion demand grows, we see in time that we would be very hopeful of that selling out. But I think in the first 3 to 5 years, we're focused on getting to that sort of 50,000 tonne in the short term, and would be very happy to go beyond that. But we've put together what we believe is a conservative ramp-up plan to around that 35 to 50% of the capacity.
Okay, David, our next question. What does the competitive landscape look like for Aquirian?
Yeah, so the major competitors, there's a number of competitors in the region, the major ones being your Orica, Dyno Nobel and CSBP from a emulsion perspective. I guess our point of difference is really location. We're on that freight corridor where a lot of other people have to get to the freight corridor. We're also not in a mining region, so the ability to hire workforce from a farming background and potentially a local workforce is great for us. And our operating costs by owning the facility and being a standalone private facility are significantly less than operating on a government-run explosives reserve. So we've got a number of competitive levers, and as I said, the key one being the location on that northern freight corridor.
Thanks, David. And our second last question, would you expect to announce any emulsion contracts prior to completion of the acquisition?
That's obviously where we'd like to get to. And we're actively engaged with, as I said, end user customers and industry participants at the moment. Our focus initially is getting all of our license applications in to ensure we can get to completion in as quick a timeframe as we can. And obviously, we would be very keen to be announcing some contract wins between now and completion.
That's excellent, David. And our last question for today, what is the current holding of the board and management in Aquirian?
Currently, board and management are about 35% of the group. So quite a large holding, a lot of skin in the game, and very keen to maximise our return on that holding.
Excellent. Thanks, David. That does appear to cover the majority of our questions from our audience. And if you do have any further questions for David, please feel free to forward them to info@corporatestorytime.com. This does conclude our webinar. So once again, thanks to everyone for attending and the Aquirian team and David for the update. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Nicola.